think in that moment it was made real to me. I was on fire for God, came to college knowing that I wanted to minister to these students, even peers. I didn't know I would be a full-time minister, but I came in with the mindset that, yes, I'm here to get an education, but ultimately I'm here to spread the gospel and tell people about Jesus, whether that's faculty. Sometimes I would be in their office and I would just like tell them about Jesus because I couldn't help it. It just flowed. So, God was revealing himself in that. And so freshman year, I kind of dabbled in a few different ministries to really see where God wanted me and where he wanted to plant me. And I, there's a lot of different ministries at JMU, especially. And so a lot of great ministries. And so I ended up, feeling called to Every Nation campus. That's the campus ministry out of Every Nation. And I'll explain a little bit more about what Every Nation is in a second. But so freshman and sophomore year, pretty smooth sailing, pretty, I would say, I was on fire for God, and nothing really in my life was hindering me. School was tough for me always, because I'm always like trying to share the gospel with my classmates while the teacher's speaking, but I learned through that. There's an appropriate time. But all that being said, I had a really defining moment my junior year of college. I started having flashbacks kind of my childhood and some trauma that took place. 18 to 25-year-olds, that's psychologically when you have space to look back and see, things in your childhood that you thought were normal. You grew up as normal, right? But you look back and you're like, that was kind of hard. That was traumatic. And so, so I had been learning about that in my psychology class and was learning the actual science behind PTSD and mental health issues. And the flashbacks I was having were from when I was 7. I was kicked in the head by a horse right here in Craigsville, and I stopped breathing, was unconscious. My mom, she actually told me this a couple years ago, which I didn't know. She said that, because she's a nurse, and so she said that she knew as a nurse that you don't touch people with like possible neck or back injuries when they're injured, because you could really mess something up worse. And she said she grabbed me and hugged me because she didn't know if she would see me again or get to hold me again. And I'm her youngest girl. And so that struck me. I felt bad that my family was so traumatized as well in that. And I ended up being in a medically induced coma for like close to a week. And broke my jaw and everything, but God knew that I was not done on this earth. He brought me out of that, healed me. I do have some like slight jaw issues, but if that's it, they really thought I was gonna have brain damage. They told my family to come say bye to me. So that's the first time the devil tried to take me out, and God swept me back, and it was like, not today. And so 2 years after that, when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer in my left leg, and that was 2.5 years of not good things, not good. And one of the main flashbacks I had was I went down for a surgery. Normally, kids with my type of cancer get their leg amputated because it's on the growth plate, so it would, it's not able to be saved. However, we found a second opinion at Johns Hopkins Hospital, and they were able to save my leg, and with 1 millimeter of room to work. And so God's just favor and grace, like all over. I play basketball now, I weightlift, I run, I can do anything I want, which is like super rare for someone with my type of cancer. Never relapsed. It's been 12 years, or 10 years. since off treatment. And so I went down for a surgery that was 16 hours long, and that came back to my mind, that junior year of college when I said that I was having those flashbacks, and it was like I was reliving that moment. It was truly PTSD, where I was like stopped in my place, or where I was and couldn't move on. And so that was 9 years old, so that was 9 to 11-ish years old. It took me a year and a half to learn how to re-walk, because they took a cadaver bone, put it in my leg, and it grew with my other bone they took from this leg. I can explain more about the surgery, but in other words, it reminds me of Ezekiel 37 when he had to prophesy over the bones, you will live, dry bones live, and a dead bone fusing together with my living bone is just a testament to what God was going to do and will continue to do throughout my life. So again, enemy tried to take me out. God was like, nah. So that was when I ended when I was 11, and then my junior year of high school, my brother got diagnosed with cancer and thyroid, and he was 24. He is good now. He was doing his thesis for his master's program during it, and he relapsed once, I think, into his lymph nodes and everything. So he had multiple surgeries and radiation, but God kept him. That was a hard time for me, though, to see someone so close to me go through similar experiences. It was like I was reliving it again, and it was just a lot. But at the same time, my other brother was in jail for 7 months for something that he was wrongly convicted of, and actually was proven not guilty right away. But they had to wait for the trial, if that makes sense. So, and he's a softie, so people in jail are not nice usually. So he was pretty traumatized in that. And at the same time, my aunt had 3 aneurysms in her brain one night, and so my parents were like, we got to get in the car, we're going to Richmond to say bye to her. But they were able to save her life. I mean, God just over and over. So that's kind of the point there. And also, when I was in the hospital for that surgery, another flashback came back to me. My uncle died the day of my surgery. He was 42. And so my parents left the hospital for 10 hours to drive to New Jersey, come back, and act like, they didn't want to tell me. So all of that being said, my junior year of college, all of that at once came back. And I'm not the only college student this happens to. Things will come back all your life. But I believe that this age is where people are really faced with how do they want to cope with things. Do they want to self-harm? Do they want to overdose? Do they want to drink? Do they want to party? Do they want to get with all of these people? And in that moment, I really felt like I could not handle it, and I could not bear this life anymore. It wasn't that I wanted to die, it was that I wanted to be with Jesus, because I was firm in my faith, and God was like, not yet, that is not what I have for you. So I ended up having a mentor through this ministry that urged me to get professional help. And I was scared. I was like, I can't pay for this. I can't, it's going to look weird or bad that I'm like a Christian going to counseling and everything. But God healed me so much through that. And it was in those terrible and dark moments that he brought me closer to him. Because I recognize now that God, he promised suffering. He promised that. And the word suffering is in the Bible so many times. But through our weakness, his grace and his power is made strong and shown to the world. And so that was in November of 2018. And then April of 2019, my brother that had been in jail in high school, he passed away in a car accident. my family was in Jamaica. He was stateside though because he had to work. He died on my sister's wedding day. So that was last year. And as I look at that, and that is traumatic and it's tragic, and it still is, honestly, every day. But God knew I needed help before then with things that were going to come up. So he had favor over my life to get me the help I needed before I went through that. Because like I said, suffering is promise, but God will pave a way so that you can get through it. And so I already had a counselor, I already had a psychiatrist, I already had mentors, and my pastors knew what was going on. And so I just can't even explain what God did through this ministry to save my life. And in that moment, that's when I realized that I had to share this with other college students, that I had to be there for them, to not only share the gospel and pray for healing for them, but help them get professional help. I know where all the good help is in Harrisonburg and Fishersville area. Has been through that, lived it, and so yeah, that's kind of my intro to why, a little background of why I am in full-time ministry on these college campuses. And so we are called Every Nation Campus, and we are a part of, like Pastor Bob said, a larger network of churches and ministries called Every Nation. And Every Nation is in over 86 different nations, ministering over 700 different college campuses and over 500 different full-time missionaries like myself. And so we really, really love establishing things and then planting more things. And we want to get to every nation, like the name says. And so I am really focused on finding leaders, identifying the leaders on the campuses, whether they're Christian or not, because you can tell if someone's a leader. God doesn't change your personality when you become Christian or saved. He turns it to honor Him and glorify Him. I've always been loud and hyper. It used to not be for great things before I got saved, and then He turned it to where now I can speak in front of people, I can do all of these things. And so I like to identify those students and then mentor them and bring them into the church, the local church. We really believe in that. Our ministry is through the local church. So I'm employed by Every Nation, but I work at my local church. And so I actually have a super quick testimony from one of my students that actually, she asked me to be my mentor today. Asked me to be her mentor. And so that was really cool. But she she was at this, it was an online experience this year, but it's usually a retreat in North Carolina through our ministry. It's all up and down the East Coast of different churches that have college ministries get together. And so we had it on Zoom, we had a live stream, and people came to my local church and watched it there. And we had an altar call. My full-time job right now is speaking to people and raising my partnership team. And so I'm really not supposed to be on campus very much. It has to be limited because they want you to be solid with your partnership team before you go on campus. And God, I was about to leave. I was like, I got to sing at church in the morning. I got to be there at 7 and stay there till 1. So I need to get some sleep. I need to, all these excuses. And God was like, why don't you put your laptop down and go pray for people? And God had told me things about this girl that I would have never known unless He told me. Very, very specific struggles, and for the sake of her privacy, I won't share those. But as soon as I prayed for her, she fell in my lap, just crying her eyes out. And she's like, how did you know that? And I believe God healed her in that moment. And she told me 2 weeks ago that she actually had a plan to commit suicide, and that prayer reversed it. And so the grace of God to give me that gift before I'm even on the campus, to show me just a tiny glimpse of what this ministry will do on these college campuses. And so that's kind of a rundown of that. I've spoken with Carolyn, I've spoken with Bob, I've spoken with a ton of people. But I am currently raising a partnership team, and so really how I get on campus as quickly as possible is monthly partners. And so I have, I think at this point 50 partners, 51. And so I have a goal to raise $3,000 more a month. So I'm a little bit so we have 200 days and we're on day like 90. So if that gives you we have till February. And so I passed out those contact cards to you all. Even if you're just interested in hearing more about it, I would love to meet with you or FaceTime, Zoom, whatever you're comfortable with, because I know things are crazy right now. And really, and I believe that when people partner with me in this ministry, they're on campus with me. Some people just don't have the capacity. They have jobs, they have families. They can't or don't feel called to physically be on campus. But God had spoken to me and said, Courtney, your partners are with you on campus when an atheist is hearing the gospel for the first time. Your partners are with you when someone who says they know God and they don't even know about the gospel, the false gospels, false doctrine, they're with you. They're with you in the water when you're baptizing students. And so I just truly believe that I have been called to this ministry. I have no doubt in my mind. And so if you're interested, I have also some pamphlets that kind of explain what we've done in 2020 so far globally. And I just wanted to invite y'all into that, whether it's prayer, financial. Just let me know. I'll be here till the end, obviously. But if you want to fill out those connect cards to link up a little bit more, I would love that. Does anybody have questions about my story or anything? Okay. Okay, well, let me pray for you all really quick. I didn't even look at this. Praise God.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to have special prayer after the sermon, so maybe we can do all that praying afterwards.
Sounds great. But thank you all for your time. I know I jumped around a little bit, but I try to listen to God, what He's telling me to say. But thank you.